morning, everyone. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi Itai. I'm so excited to be here today, and it's such a great day to be alive. It's such a great day to be here, and we're going to have a great time. We always have a great time on the show. And this has been saying good morning to everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. Want to thank you for joining us all the time, making our time to be here. We appreciate you, everyone. We believe that your contributions actually add to the success story of the show. It's always a great pleasure to hear from you, to listen to you, to get to hear your feedbacks and your contributions. We're streaming from Lagos to Nigeria to Africa and, of course, to the entire world. And, of course, if you're joining us, please do let us know your name, your location, where you're streaming from. And of course, if it's your first time, also we would like to acknowledge you, appreciate you, welcome you into the Good Morning Education Show family. It's always a great pleasure to always welcome new people into the tribe. And our tribe members who consistently join us, want to thank you for consistently being there. This is the Good Morning Education Show. We are always excited to welcome you to the show. Thank you for joining. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for joining on the show today. Thank you, everyone. And so today we're going to be having a great time. And as usual on the show, we normally would like to start off with our headlines, and then we'll look at things that are happening within and around the world of education. And then we'll go into the topic of the day, and we'll move further into what we call the grant of the day. This is a new segment on the Good Morning Education Show where we try to bring value to you, where you are able to make more out of the world of education, see opportunities for funding for individuals, for collective group of people, and of course as a school or as professionals, as the case may be. This is something we started this week, and we believe that every day we'll strive and continue to ensure that we bring to you information that you require to be able to get the best, insight on the conversations for the day. Please do not hesitate to leverage on these opportunities because most of them are time bound, and it would be nice for us to have such experiences, you know, um, to be able to leverage on them as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, please do make yourself available for that as we talk about this on the show. So, we're going to be having uh, an interesting conversation today, and I hope by the time our analysts also join us, you'll begin to see diverse views and exposure or and thought pattern of the subject matter. But until then, we're going to start with our usual headline review, and we'll take a look at the news within and around the world of education from the headlines, and we talk about them one after the other. And talking about them, we're able to also show you some insights on things that have happened and things that are about to happen. And as it is, we learn on the show as we share together. And of course, the aim of all this is so that we ultimately also grow together. We definitely will be looking at some of the headlines now. I'm just trying to look at the one that I would like to start with that will whet your appetite. Okay, so let's head over to the first headline. And the first headline will be power costs crippling schools. Power costs crippling schools. I personally believe that you know this is something that a lot of schools, especially private schools to be precise, a lot of schools are experiencing so much pain, so much cost in the area of power. Powering a school today is no small feat. I recalled on the show sharing with one of our analysts the other time that a client of mine was sharing how the school that they run, spends a lot of money on power every month. And I'm talking about something running into millions. I'm like, wow. Sometimes when we look at school operations or we look at the school system or the school business, we are sometimes ignorant or oblivious of some major cost elements, you know, that goes into it, especially schools providing a huge level of quality. We are talking about the classrooms alone are consume power. Classrooms that have ACs. We're talking about running on generator diesel costs. Diesel is now expensive. It's always been expensive anyway. And then we're talking about the normal electricity supply to the school. We're talking about estimated billing for some people. We're talking about powering the labs, the laboratories, the music lab, the language lab, the normal science labs. You know, we're talking about name it, and we're talking about something that goes on from morning till evening. There's schools that have boarding schools. Boarding schools run into higher costs, you know. And this really something that we need to look into. I believe there's a time that we heard about a concession where people were looking at the possibility of getting some degree of support. You know, uh, there are people who have shared their statistics of how much they've spent, on power, you know, and across all levels, from primary to even tertiary institutions. Um, Tertiary institutions, some people spend, in fact, I think from the news, um, we found out that electricity bill for some universities is about 61 to 62 million now, and this is something that I really need you guys to just go out there. If you have the Nation newspaper, you discover it's on the Nation newspaper. It's just a sad reality, sad reality that we have to go through all this pain, all these aches, to experience, service delivery. And yeah, the next headline is retired teachers crucial to education. Absolutely, absolutely true. If you look at it, we are still fighting and struggling with the teacher shortage challenge in the nation. Teacher supply has always been has always been a headache, um, and I believe that it would be good for us to see how, especially I've seen Lagos State do it, but to see how we can get to be of value and of service one way or the other, you know, to the education system, because really there's a lot of need. There's a lot of need for hands. I'm talking about not just hands that are qualified and experienced. The skill gap is totally wide. So retired teachers, I totally agree, are crucial, and there must be a way where a scheme can allow to have them back. So we have core members on page, says director. I noticed there was even a survey online speaking about the core member reality, where we're talking about core members being underpaid or not underpaid. Of course, when you look at the realities, it's really something that must be looked into. It's something that must be addressed, in the shortest possible time, because I believe that core members are facing a lot, and the fixed stated amount, apart from those who are also being paid by the state, which is not an everybody thing, it's positioned to make them barely have quality of life. I think that by the time we're able to do something about that, it will come out better. I believe so. Um, so core members hang in there. I would believe that in the shortest possible time, there will be possibilities of celebration for, for that. Then the next headline is Lagos Civil Service model in Singapore, right? I'm of the opinion that success always leaves clues. And so Lagos Civil Service model in Singapore, I think is a welcome development. And I believe that the civil service should also find it as something that is part of their own scorecard and measurement, that as we model, we also make sure that adaptation to our reality is factored in so that sustainability, workability of some of the things that we're copying, is factored. And we must dig deep to find out why some things are the way they are so that we are not just taking totally a method or a model that we're yet to comprehend. Yeah. So the next headline is less privileged pupils to attend Dominican College for free. Fantastic. This is a very good one. And I think we must commend all the parties behind this. The Dominican College is a Catholic and faith-based mission college, and it's preparing to take off in September in Abuja. And they have this to say that those people who are less privileged, yeah, will be able to attend for free. I really, really, really believe that this is something that is laudable as the school is preparing to take off in Abuja. Um, they have plans to enroll children with less privileged backgrounds, absolutely at no cost. The college is raising 250 million naira to make this possible and to make construction of the state-of-the-art facility before the start of 2021-2022. If you're listening to me and you're out there and you are part of that school, I really want to salute you. I want to celebrate you on behalf of the Good Morning Education Show. And I really want to thank you all, for this great feat. The news says that the director of the Dominican Vocation Support and Project Coordination, Reverend Father Stephen Obe, said at the briefing that the aim of the school is to reduce out of the school children, especially where the Dominican order have done a lot of evangelism over the years. Well done, to that. And let me welcome Safety Chick. Good morning, Safety Chick. Good morning. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Morning, Mr. Timmy.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. All right. The next headline we have here is Military Autotronic School 6 MBTE accreditation. That is another headline. Military Autotronic School is working with the National Board of Technical Education for full accreditation. This school was established in 2015 as a part of bilateral agreement between the Ministry of Defense and Germany and awarded the vocational certificate in mechatronic automobile. I see that there's a lot going on there already, and the 2021 graduation of batch 5 students of the school will continue to witness a lot of things. That means they're doing fantastic stuff, and I really want to celebrate them as well for what they're doing and believe or want to believe that they will continue to do more. Ibochi, do you have something to say about that?
Yeah, I think it's just as you said, but it's a good one they're doing, and it's good that they're also seeking accreditation to formalize their systems and processes and also their certifications. So that's a good one.
Yes. Okay, so um, yes, thank you very much. So let's move to the next one where important in education process is tutorial operators. Get you any comment on that?
Tutorial operators are referring to those who provide tutorial classes after school, right? Or
Yes.
those ones that
Well,
help children
but
prepare for
also,
exams, those
yeah,
centers.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, of course they are. They are because it that is to able
And
to perform better at the various exams that they have to show up at. So yes, they are important. They're important. Ideally, if maybe things were working well, we may not necessarily have needed tutorial operators. What would now happen is maybe it will now be when a parent just wants their child to be exceptional and over the top that you would have extra classes. But because not every child is having that quality education in their existing school and all that, so somewhere somehow someone has to make up for it. And again, because there's also this fear that a lot of parents have that they don't want their children to fail in all those external exams, and so they just want to provide that added support by making use of tutorial service providers. So guess they are important basically.
all right, thank you so much. We also know that over the years they've been instrumental in capturing data and resource materials, especially in past questions. Most of these tutorial centers have been able to prove some of these past questions that students have used to master their outing in their exams. All right, 85% success in certificate exam possible. This is coming from AKT, from the back of Punch newspaper. Would you want to say something about this?
Yeah, it's possible. 85% success is definitely possible. There are factors, right? There are factors that can make it possible. So as long as those factors are present and available, of course, 85% success in those exams is quite possible.
Okay, so we hope we keep raising the bar. If 85% actually successful, then 90% is successful. 95% is also successful. Children from low income schools benefiting from Bridge.
That's a good one because I know that Bridge has been very keen on ensuring educational access for all children, regardless of socioeconomic status. So this is a really good one, and I hope that Bridge is able to sustain, continue, and even be able to do more. I hope that government works with organizations like Bridge to, improve access to as many children across the entire country. I hope that other organizations also partner. There is this thing we have to begin to do in all the sectors we find ourselves, and that is collaboration, where you don't necessarily have to go and start your own, but when you see somebody already doing, join forces. When you join forces, you're able to reach a bigger critical mass. Your achievement is even higher as opposed to working in silos. So when you see someone who is already making good progress, good efforts, and has some significant impact, it's great to join forces with them. So yes, government should work with them. Organizations also, individuals that see the amazing work they're doing and who want to make a quota or their own contribution to education should also please work with Bridge.
You know what? I've not done this in a long time, but I will ring the bell of blessings for you. You deserve that for that statement that you made. Well done. Well done.
Thank you, sir.
I thought you'd say, oh shit.
I was a bit surprised, so I wasn't sure what to say.
All right, so let's quickly head on to Atlantic Hall. Atlantic Hall founder autobiography teaches mentorship.
When I saw this headline, I was really happy because that's actually what we need right now. You know, there is wisdom that the elders have garnered in their experience of work, right? And the young ones do not have to experience their whole life to get it. They can get shortcuts because that is what mentorship does. Mentorship shortens your learning curve, right? So it's great that an amazing a school leader, you know, who has had that number of years of experience and quality of service that's been put out there, has put out a document, an autobiography that people can learn from. So you don't need to go and start disturbing him or her to say, oh, mentor me, read their book. Once you read their book, you're writing on the tracks of their mind, seeing how they reason, leveraging their experiences, and you can just take something practical from that you can use in your own current life. So I'm happy to see that, and I'm happy to see that now we have more people who are leaders in their industry releasing books and teaching, giving practical tips, because it wasn't really, a lot of them were not doing it before, but now you can see that there is that shift because they see that it's important to equip the people coming behind. So maybe they've always wanted to do it, but they were not sure of the platforms or the methodology to make it happen, right? But I'm happy to see the videos, the books that are coming out, the mentorship programs that are being rolled out, the foundations. You know, it's just so beautiful to see because it helps the younger ones. Of course, not everything that will be said might still be happening in the current realities that we have, but you can still leverage knowledge from the older ones and layer it on what is going on, and it makes all the difference in the work you do. So I would say well done to the Atlantic Hall founder. That's a really good one.
Thank you so much. And while you were speaking, Dr. KK walked into the building. Okay, Fajai, also known as
Good
KK, also known
morning,
as One
Dr.
Man Public,
KK.
also known as Dancing Instagram, also known as Walking Content, also known as I'll keep it sealed till later. KK, welcome to the
Hi,
show.
good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the doctorate, the honorary
As
doctorate.
in,
You are not a doctor. Who else would be a
Dr.
doctor?
KK.
My honorary doctorate, my first honorary doctorate.
Thinking the spell of blessings to that.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning to you. Well done with all the great job you've been doing online, offline. Always proud of you. So we are having headlines, and let's have one more, and then we'll go straight to the conversation of the day. This is ASUP suspends industrial action. I think that's a breath of fresh air.
It is a breath of fresh air.
Oh my goodness. Then they said, why we suspend 2 weeks warning strike. That's still on ASUP. Then we have former NAPTIP chief enlightens school children on SGBV. Any comments on that?
Yeah,
Well,
it's good.
yeah, I think it's good. I mean, it's something that typically nobody likes to talk about, but which it should be on the table, should be the conversation on the table, to be honest. It's the lack of knowledge, the ignorance that permeates the society that actually allows for some sort of, biases and, all sorts of ills to happen. So I think this is a good one. I agree 100% with safety chip.
Okay. So we are moving on to the conversation of the day. And it is now I need to punish. And I'm excited that Kiki is on the show today. So we can start with you. And let's look at it. Sometimes In recent time, let me just say what happened to me in the month of May. I was privileged to go around again. There's this teacher training or teacher support program I work with a foundation in Cross River to do every year, and so I was privileged to go around some local governments, about 5 local governments, to train teachers across and then speak to some students. And it was that trip. I just noticed that it's like there's this familiar or this frequent urge for teachers to just unleash terror or punishment to children. It's like they have it coming already. And I was trying to do like an indirect survey, and I might be wrong, but I think one of the most familiar words or frequently used words, like we have frequently asked questions, is
Mhm.
come here, what are you doing? And then kneel down. It's like those things, I heard that like millions of times while I was on that. I don't know whether that happens in private schools, but it's like we are quick to say kneel down there. So let's talk about the the topic. Says now I need to punish. Let's really demystify the word punish or the word punishment or the craving for punishment. When is this acceptable? When should it be done? How should it be done? In what manner? Through what methods? Um, how do we even get to know that we are not being toxic punishing? How do we get to make sure it's not now personal? You know, these are the things that I would like to talk on and touch on the show today. So, KK, you have the floor to open up.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's a good question, a good topic, to be honest. But I mean, I would substitute the word punish with discipline, because when you look at the word punish in itself says that you are going to be,
Wicked.
yeah, exactly. For your actions, your inactions, and all sorts, right? It already assumes that the person knew exactly what they were doing and it was premeditated. And sometimes, especially when you're working in a school environment, you realize that children are children, right? And there's a lot of projection of the adult. So I feel that so let me give an example. I was doing a school audit recently, and as I was walking around the classrooms, this was year 4, I think it was year 4, year 3, or primary 4, primary 3. I can't remember right now. But then I heard a teacher talking and said, "Do you think you're a child? Will you stop it?" And in my head, I'm like, yeah, the children. You know what? That's what happens, right? And it's not the teacher's fault. They just assume that you're doing it. Yes, some of the children know exactly what they're doing. It's a power tussle, right? I mean, when we were not looking at the profile of behavior right now, but if we looked at the profile and what leads to misbehavior, then we would understand that sometimes it's actually a child just saying, you know what, I'm going to. But even in that, right, they're still children. And when you think about it really deeply, you realize they're not doing it out of it's not like I'm going to just make life miserable for you, dear teacher. No, it's I'm acting out. This is my level of emotional ability right now. In fact, children are 16, 18, they don't even have full grasp of their emotions, right? And I hear that in terms of emotion, there's some part of the brain that is not fully developed to 21. So imagine that. When you think about it, teachers need to understand the fact that it can be frustrating. So what you need to do is say, what sort of behavioral interventions do I have in my classroom? What are the things I need to do? Yes, there's a time where you need to discipline children, 100%. Even the ones that you give birth to, you discipline them, not and it's not, yeah, it's not about you being wicked or you not being nice. It's just that there are times where there's a brain reset that needs to happen, right? And when that happens, how is it being done is the question. Does everybody understand why it is being done? And even as it is being done, is there so let me end with this. We're talking I think it was when I was doing these videos that I posted on my Instagram yesterday with the team. And so one of them was talking, and they were like, "No, Miss KK." I was like, "Wait, you guys are just making my head swell." They were like, "No, Miss KK, it's not like as if you're not hard on us. You are. But even when you're disciplining us, with the second hand, you're putting us closer and saying, come, let me show you how it's supposed to be done. And that's how it's meant to be, right? And that's the same way, right? Even when somebody is being disciplined, they need to understand the fact that this is coming from a place of trust, from a place of saying, I want to give you greater responsibility. I need to prepare you for what's ahead. And when we change that mindset, right, it just changes the tone of every single thing. Yeah. So thanks. Back to you, Mr. Rosie.
Thank you so much. And Safety Chick, I'd like you to talk about your views as well.
Yes, I really agree with what Dr. KK. I agree with what Dr. KK has said. And that's because, in fact, I was also thinking of that instead of punish, we should use the word discipline, because punish sounds like, the person wants to really do evil, do evil to the other person involved, right? But when you think of it as discipline, it also begins to regulate you. So how do you discipline correctly? Because what I find is that some adults, the way they react when they want to punish a child is it's almost like a built up frustration from previous other offenses, and so and in that moment they are not even addressing the issue. It's like they are just almost treating the child as if the child is their age mate, and that is a wrong way to discipline. So if all the child sees is this wicked adult that is just making evil on them, so it's very important that we are even clear on discipline before the day of discipline comes, so that even the child understands why they are being disciplined. So don't wait for something bad to happen before you set the rules and set the standards, so that the day something happens, they'll even be the one explaining to you that, okay, I know that I should not have done this, because they will use their mouth to explain because they know the rules were set ahead. So discipline is good because it ensures that bad behavior does not repeat itself. But again, even as we discipline, we must also ensure that we are treating issues and not the person. Because when discipline is not done well, it can end up affecting the self-esteem of the child. It can affect their educational output. It can even turn them to the opposite. They now want to be bullies to other people and all those kind of stuff. So it's really important that discipline, when we want to discipline, we must also look at the big picture, right? And then, of course, when they also do good things, that's where this balance really comes in. When they do good stuff, you must also praise it, reinforce, so that they know that you are not only you're not only on the wicked bit of things, you're not only on the negative bit of things, because when they can see that balance, it helps them, so that even when maybe somebody is trying to affect their minds to say, the teacher does not like you, the teacher is wicked to you because of that. When the child thinks through their experiences and see where the teacher has praised their process of becoming. So, for example, teacher saw them studying, and so, well done, I can see that you're studying because you want to do better. Well done, that's good. As opposed to only saying that's good when they at the output. So when you say they are doing well in the process of becoming, and also that they are doing well at the final output, it's great. It builds their esteem, so that the days they are being disciplined for the things they did not do well, they know that it's not coming from a place of wickedness. It's coming from a place of, we want you to be able to do better, because we know that you have capacity to actually be better. So when we think of discipline from that point of view, it changes the perspective from punishment, and it now becomes discipline because you want this child to be better. And so it actually just regulates you, because when you know that it is discipline, it is not punishment, somehow it begins to do something to your mind. It self-regulates you.
I mean, exactly. Yeah, I mean, as you were talking, something that came to me was even the safety angle, right? There's some children who shut down once they see a teacher coming at them. They just shut down, literally. And when you think about it, that child's going to feel unsafe in school,
Yes.
And it's not like, yeah, so there's just a huge safety element. And so imagine that part of the brain is constantly stimulated. That's not a good thing, not for even an adult.
Yeah, I agree.
That's true. And and that that leads to a question I'd like to ask, and I'll really prefer if both of you could also address that. I'll start with KK, then I'll come back to Safety Chick. So from the last few things Safety Chick mentioned, it's almost like tilting towards saying we must have some measure of deposit in these kids. It's like an account where you put in a lot of, it's like when you have money in an account, you are easily able to withdraw because there's deposit in it. So what are the ways that you would counsel us or educators out there and parents as well? How do we positively deposit or build deposit in the minds, in the hearts, and the lives of students, that even when corrective measures come into situations like that, or we are trying to, discipline, because of there's a reference, I know this person, I know how this person has been to me, I know how this person has always related with me, or whatever it is, it's almost not erasing or eroding a lot at the place of the correction, at the place of discipline. Could you shed some light on that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a really good question. And I love where you're taking the conversation to. Yeah, because it's not enough to say don't do it, but how, what am I supposed to then do, right? And I'll start with an example. So we had a particular child in school, and the challenge here was this child was the only child, right? And the parents had struggled for a bit to get that child. And what happened then, this was a couple of years ago, then was you couldn't say the parents didn't want to hear, right, anything about the child. They just were not interested. As far as they were concerned, their child was an angel with a halo and sunshine shining out from around them. And that wasn't the reality. The reality was the child literally had worms coming out of them because they were spoiled, right? And in itself, it's not the fault of the child. That's all that they've ever known. They don't understand no. They don't understand boundaries. They don't understand accepting responsibility. They don't understand why they need to persevere, simply because they've never had to. Somebody has always answered the question for them. Somebody has always carried their bag. Somebody has always fed them. Somebody has always packed up after them, right? So they don't know. And so what happened was the child started school, and I had a conversation after about a few weeks. I actually myself, right, because the teachers weren't making headway with having a conversation with the parents. So I scheduled a meeting, and I sat down and I had a conversation with the parents and said, you know what, this thing is not going to happen in this school. Your child, right, will not grow up like this. And so be sure that your child will come home crying some days. It's not because we're being wicked. It's because we're being insistent that your child has to pack up. Your child has to sit by themselves. Your child cannot be running around the classroom wanting to play when it's work time, right? So there's certain frameworks within which your child will operate in this environment. And we would implore you to begin to create those frameworks at home. They said, oh no, but it's just a child. I said, I agree. But the adult you want to see doesn't start to develop today. It doesn't start to develop tomorrow. If you want to see an adult, you start to develop the adult today. Because if there are streaks of that adult that you want to see tomorrow not visible today, then you're going to have a problem with birthing tomorrow. So we had that conversation with the parents, and even though it was still a struggle for a while, but to be honest with you, by the time they were moving, because then they relocated out of the country. In fact, actually, it wasn't when they left the country, they called us back to say thank you. That they can see the clear difference right now. That even the school where their child is called them and said, oh, you know what, your child is different. Not only do they accept responsibility, but they get things done. And this was the child where we were still breaking our head when they left here, right? And saying, you know what, these things, you need to be able to speak like this to an adult. You need to, all of those things. So what should a teacher do? One thing a teacher needs to begin to do, right, is called banking time. I always talk about this in my training sessions. The reason why I can call Safety Chick and say, oh, Safety Chick, I need your help with this, is because I have banked time with Safety Chick. Safety Chick understands the fact that if she needs me for something, I'm there for her. And so somewhere in her mind, right, if she calls me or she needs to call, she knows that Ms. Keke will answer me. And even if Ms. Keke doesn't, Miss Keke would let me know why and how. It's not that Miss Keke doesn't just want my progress. And that's how it needs to be in the classrooms. The teachers, first of all, must come from a place of self-awareness. Before you are even banking time, you must ask yourself, and I put out a post on Instagram a few days ago, I had to deal with my own emotional childhood issues before, okay, actually it wasn't Clubhouse, it was on Clubhouse, before I could open up myself to the work that I do. I needed to understand the fact that, you know what, as a child, it was okay. It wasn't okay that I was shut down all the time. It wasn't okay that I didn't have a voice. It wasn't okay that I was treated as an adult when I was a child. It wasn't. So I had to break down those societal and cultural constructs within which I developed. When I understood that, I understood the fact that, you know what, this is not what childhood should be. It was easier for me to then begin to see the children and be accepting of who they were. And so that it must come from that place as a teacher. You as a teacher, the fact that you were being caned, you were being shut down in the classroom, you weren't allowed to express yourself, that wasn't the right way. So you shouldn't project those your hurts, those your pain upon the children in your classroom. Don't do that. Because what you're doing is that you're shutting down the bank. You're shutting it down. And when you shut it down, when you need to pull on it later, an emotional data bank, any type of data bank, you don't have it. It doesn't exist. It's dry. Right? So that's the place that we need to start from. Become self-aware. Understand the fact that these children are in your care. They don't know you. You don't know them. You guys came connected because of the school. Right? They didn't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to deal with Miss Keke today. No. Right? And you must be accepting of them as children. Okay? And then you need to begin to then ask yourself, what are the inefficiencies you have as a teacher? Sometimes, right, it's difficult to control human behavior. And because of that, we want to cage it. So we as teachers need to begin to ask ourselves, what are those, where am I deficient in my behavioral, my ability to control behavioral misnorms in my classroom, and then go and develop yourself. Ask yourself what you need to do. Another thing you need to do is to understand the cues. And when you understand behavioral, how to manage behavior in the classroom, you will see the cues from a mile off, and you put things in place to ensure that it doesn't blow up in your face, right? So again, and it comes again, once again, to be honest, from a place of self-awareness, and then truly care for the children in your care. Write down things, right? Have observations, write down anecdotal records, and say, oh, this happened today. Communicate with the parents, because that way the parents are made aware of what is going on. Not just the parents, communicate with the school administration. Why? Administration is your backbone. If you as a teacher feels that you, or they should, you know, in a properly run school system, administration should be the backbone of the teachers of the classroom, right? And so if you don't have all these things in place, then you are going to want to punish. Okay, and then let me give I mean, this is something that is very passionate to me, but I'll wrap up soon, Mr. Rotimi, so that Safety Chick doesn't just leave the studio and like, you know what, Keke, just carry today. One thing
that making sense.
One thing that I'm going to end with is now I've lost my train of thought. But yeah, it's really important that we understand what it is that we're doing, why we're doing it. And finally, sorry, it's come back. Every child in your class is different, right? And you as well as a teacher, you're different. Which is why when you understand yourself, I'm a talker, and I am when I'm in the classroom, if I'm in my house, I don't do anything, I sit down and watch TV, you know. But when I'm in an environment where I know I need to be a certain way, I can be that way. And that comes from a place of self-awareness, right? So it's different for me. I don't project. I am also a very visual learner, meaning that I like to see things. When somebody's talking, I'm doodling, right? And that's me. Now imagine I was a teacher in a classroom, and I had mostly auditory learners or kinesthetic learners. I'm going to be wondering what's wrong with these people, right? Because I would try and speak on the board expecting that they will follow me like that, but they're not. They're a different set of learners. The teachers need to profile their students. When you profile your students and understand who your students are, then it is easier for you to approach them from a database perspective. Yeah, that's it. Bye-bye.
Don't say bye-bye, because I need you to answer some questions. I'll ask Safety Chick this question, and I'm coming back to you, KK. Now, you know, from the things that you said, you touched on an issue that I really want to ask or touch on, which is how can we help children in understanding boundaries? You know, KK mentioned that, and I'll start with Safety Chick. How can we help children to understand boundaries? Because if some of these children are acting the way they're acting and it's now leading to exposure or being punished or being disciplined, and it's probably because they can't. Can you, in a minute, answer that? How do we help children understand boundaries?
I think it's about just to layer on what she has already said, because she has mentioned a lot of fantastic, and I like that part of banking, because really that's it. So that children know that you don't have evil intent, because they know that you have been good to them. And so that also helps with creating those boundaries. So you set the rules and you explain why, and then you put a system in place that whatever, if you follow it, there is a consequence. If you don't follow it, there is also a consequence. Because when you're trying to teach a behavior, you've got to be really strict about it from the very beginning, so that everybody is in the same context rather. So if you have set it clearly from the beginning that, okay, so this is what you're supposed to do at this time of the day. If you do it, this is what happens. If you don't do it, this is also what happens. So, and then when you set those consequences, you ensure they happen. Children do well with routines. Sometimes we may think they do not, but they do well with routines. They do well with consistency. So when they see how it works, they know that, okay, these people are not joking, right? They mean it when they say, if you do this, you get this, and if you don't do it, you get that. But the problem would now be where you, the person who has set the rule, you yourself are flouting it, or some other person does it and you act, and that person does it and you don't act. Then the children begin to see that, okay, it's like we have double standards, because these children are perceptive. They may look like they don't know so much, but they are really perceptive. And so it begins to, the one that might be aggressive can decide that the day he or she does the same thing and then you want to act, they can talk back at you and even give you an example. But the other day, so and so person, and you didn't do it, and then you'll be there looking foolish. so it's really good to, set the rule. So, and nowadays they are so bold and they say what's on their mind. So we've got to be able to explain the reason we're asking them to do things. We've got to put the rules in place and let them know that there are consequences for compliance, whether positive compliance or negative compliance, and then we must follow through with explanation again. So you're aware that if you do this, you get this. And now that is why this is happening to you. So next time, please do not do this, so that this doesn't, just carry them along. Initially, they might still be the ones who are still stubborn and all that, but eventually they'll get the message when it is consistent. So that we begin to remove this thing that we have in our citizens, where they believe that, is it not the rule? They go soon tire. They will soon slack in keeping the rule, because that's why somebody will be confident to throw trash out the door of their car, because they know that nobody's going to do anything about it. After all, when is it Loma or whoever it was collecting 50K, it only lasted for a short while and it ended. So that follow through game must also be very very important in the course of achieving that.
Thank you so much for that. I really want to still stressing on that. I'm coming to KK now because if we're going to follow what Safety Chick said, and then taking into consideration children who are just in toddler age and toddler class range, we know that sometimes it's a bit of a headache for parents when children turn 2, they're going to 3, between 2 to 4. Those years are kind of some people call it trouble years. How do we fight the phobia for tears? A lot of times you want to be insistent, like Safety said, you must have consequences and all. For children at that age, and you tell them stop that, and they tell you no, or you say come, and then they don't answer, and you don't want to punish. Or you don't like the fact that, okay, if you say, what, if you even tell them the consequence without even enforcing it yet, they're already crying, and I'm talking about serious tears. How do parents who have phobia for tears, some parents, their password is once that child starts crying, they just say, okay, yeah, take, Joe, that. So over to you, KK.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that this thing that you just touched on is the bane of a lot of wahala. Oh my God, especially in toddler community. I mean, toddlers cry for for nothing, to be honest, and they just cry. So my niece, for example, when she was younger, if you did something really nice for her, she would just suddenly say, "Thank you, mommy. Thank you, daddy." And she starts to cry. God. She's happy. But so imagine somebody walked into that. You're like, why are you beating her? Nobody beat her. That's just her, right? She cries for the littlest things because they are not able to regulate their emotion. Not yet. And to be honest, even us as adults, it's difficult for us to regulate it. So how do we solve it? You're going to have to ask yourself, what are the major issues that would happen in my toddler environment? What happens in my toddler environment, right? Again, it's a data-driven perspective. So toddlers cry. Why do they cry, right? How they frequently ask questions. Have an education format so that parents are aware. And let people know, address it. During the inquiry meetings, we tell them, you would find that sometimes your toddler doesn't want to come to school. And they're crying when they see the gate of our school. That's okay. It is normal. What is happening is not that they are being beaten in school, it's simply this. So we help them understand what our processes are on the back end, such that when they see reactions on the front end, they can link it. That doesn't mean that they don't still come and say, the teacher is bullying my child. You still hear things like that. But then we help them understand that the way the system runs, that's not possible. Your toddlers are not alone in a class with one teacher. And there's no way admin just sits down and crosses their legs. No, they're constantly moving around. So there's no way that kind of misbehavior would not be caught. So no, that's not happening. So it's not to be reacting to the parent. The parent is coming from a place of love. They're coming from a place of, my child is not okay in school. Because guess what? No parent, let me use myself as an example. When I had my first child, I actually stopped work. I couldn't put her back in school. I couldn't imagine leaving her. Yes, I stopped. I didn't go to work. It was supposed to be 3 months, but I didn't go back. I said, where will I see school? Hey, so I will leave my child. No. I sat down with my child at home. It was when I was 8 months pregnant for my second child, that I then started to look for a school for her, because at that time it was really difficult for me to manage my being pregnant, manage a toddler. It was just tough, right? And so for me, when I see parents behave like that, I can relate to it. Right? And that's where we as teachers need to come from. Relate to their pain, relate, understand it, come from a place of empathy, and then push forth education. Once you educate people, then people are in the know. When people are in the know, they really should be able to do better. If they don't do better, explain to them why. But at the end of the day, one of the pillars of education, of us as a school, is education. So we must look at it and say, how do we educate our environment such that every single person is working together to ensure that we are grooming a child that is a strong child going forward. And if you think you can only do it alone in school, you're kidding yourself. You can't. You need the home front as well. And that's a good thing to have, approach it from both sides of the table. And then let me end with this. When we came back from COVID-19, right, it was tough. It is still tough till now, because children were used to being at home. Children were used to not being asked to sit. Children were, the knowledge was not as active as it should be. So it was mostly like maybe 60-70% passive. So what then happened was all sorts of misbehaviors happened. Also, mom and dad are busy because they have to be at work, right? And their work is in the house. So they will just say, you know what, just be doing what you are doing, and they lock themselves up and have their meetings. So what then happened was children came back to school, and it still is tough. But then I was going home one day, and the parent, I was coming from my college, and the parent came to pick up a child. And I said, Miss Kiki, we don't know what's going on. We're thinking of moving her. I said, oh, talk to me, what's going on? And they said, well, these days she doesn't want to come to school. She's crying, da. And I said, oh yeah, of course she will cry. She was at home for how long? Now she's back in school. If it's you, wouldn't you cry? You were at home, you could watch cartoon when you wanted to, you could get up and move around where you wanted to. Your teacher couldn't insist that you sat down in front of your laptop. I said that she's back in school, where she has to sit down and learn. I said, no, it's going to be difficult. So that's understandable. But what you need to do is explain to her at home that she is in school. When she's crying, just talk to her, talk her through it. Not say, you know what, we're shutting you down. Yeah, and that helped. So right now, this is about, I think 3, 4, 5 weeks later, the child is a lot more settled. Most of them are a lot more settled. And this child didn't even come to school at all last year. Resuming this term was her first term. So she didn't even come in first term, she wasn't there. Second term, she wasn't there. She came in third term. Of course, it was going to be more difficult than, than normal anyway. Yeah, so it does happen, but education usually would, smoothing things over. to you, Mr. Rotin.
Well, but let me just make this like your parting shot. So I'm going to ask this question, and also Ugochi will answer, or you use it to wrap up. So what if you're feeling like, as a teacher, or better, let's even ask as parents, right? What if the parents themselves feel that it's actually of their own making? What I mean is this. So imagine you took your child to the beach, you took your child to the cinemas, you took your child to the mall, or you took your child to maybe like a play center, like in Lekki now, the Upbeat Center, you know. And then the child is jumping, having fun and all that. And that comes back to a sane environment like the classroom or the house. And then you find out that the child starts jumping on everything and start doing everything. And you are saying, don't jump. But guess what? You are the one that carried your child with your money to go and pay for your child to jump. And now the jumping is lasting over a week. How do you cure the malady of what you created?
I know, right? That's a difficult one. But the reality is, they don't leave jumping, right? They go for that once in a while, and that's fine. And so what we do in school is to explain to the children that when you're on the playground, you can jump. You know, there's a trampoline, there's the playground, you can run around. But when you're in the class, except it is during circle time, that's when you can stand up and jump, because that's music and movement time. But when we are sitting and we have to maybe color something or paste something, if you're jumping, you can hurt yourself. So we help them understand why certain things are done at certain times, not from a place of restriction, but from a place of helping them understand the fact that this thing you want to do, you will have the time to do it. It's just not yet that time of day. And that regulation is what actually helps the child, when it is well explained, for them to understand that there's a time for everything. And even as an adult, they are then able to regulate themselves, even when they really want something, knowing that the time for it will come. It's just not right now. Yeah. Back to you, Mr. Rotin.
Okay. Ugochi.
She actually just said it all, because that was the angle I was going to come from, the safety angle of things. The fact that we have to show them the difference between where they were playing and the home front. So when the place where they are playing, there are these trampolines, there are cushions, there are all those rocks to ensure that even when they fall during play, they are not injured. And then you now show them that, look at the house. We don't have trampoline on the floor. You're like, make it so practical. We don't have trampoline here. If you say, oh, you want to jump on the chair because the chair is a bit foamy, then you show them the edges of the chair and how they, just a little mistake, a little miscalculation, they can move from the cushion of the chair, because it's a limited space, onto the floor. And ask them, would you like to fall on the floor? How would you feel if your head hits the floor? You know, let them see the implications. And again, let them know that routines. Remember, I mentioned that children thrive in routines, that there is time for everything. There is a time to play, and there is a time not to play. And also there's a place, and that place would have all the necessary features to ensure that they are safe and no harm comes to them. But if they play a play they are supposed to play in a safe place, in a place that doesn't have all those features, they would injure themselves, and that you don't want anything bad to happen to them. Take it back to the place of love. I really love you. I don't want you to have pain. I don't want you to have to land in the hospital, because if you break your leg or if you break your head, it will be uncomfortable for you. You won't be able to go to school, you won't be able to play. You know, give them reasons. And at least the reasons they can reason with, you know, they won't be able to play, they will not meet their friends. The money we're supposed to use and do other things, we'll use it and be treating them in the hospital, you know. So I guess it helps.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. We've had a great time on the show today, I'm afraid. This is where we'll draw the curtain for today and for the week. And I believe that those who've listened to us and those who watch the replay will share the word, will spread the message. We'll also take note and practice all that has been said. It was quite insightful, enriching, empowering, and exposing in nature. So thank you, Dr. KK, for that.
Thank you. Ugochi, stop laughing. Ugochi, stop laughing.
Thank you, Safety Chick, for giving us a firmly rooted deliberation today. Safety Chick, you won't get that joke yet. Yes, we're talking about those who have strong ties, those who are fully rooted in their country.
It's true now. Some people cannot leave this country, no matter what. They are so rooted. Nothing can move them.
That statement is tied to calendar. Don't worry. All right. On that note, we're going to end the show, and of course, we have a way of ending the show. We always sign off with our payoff line. Over to you, ladies, at the count of 2. 1, 2.
It is always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show.
Happy Democracy Day, guys. Weekend. Take care of yourself. Bye.